Welcome. Hope you guys are having a good morning. My name is Jonas Choi. I am a sales engineer, and I have been with Liferay for about just over 8 years, actually. And if my name seems familiar, I may have interacted with you on a ticket at some point because I was a support guy. So one of the things I've been working on recently in Liferay is just how to do stuff with search, and what features are existing in search can you leverage into Liferay. And so with the sheer volume of content and information that's available to us right now, search is an underemphasized but really critical part of the modern user experience. And it's not just for the administrators, it's for everyone, everyone who's using it, your customers, your partners, your employees, your citizens. And search is something we all use, but we really don't think about it. It's natural to us to use search, but we don't really think about all the stuff that goes into it. So getting search right for your users actually improves your user experience. And it avoids a lot of frustration. So I'm going to give people a minute or so to come in and sit down before I actually jump into the rest of the slides. So. Okay, for those of you guys who just came in, I'm just going to briefly recap. My name is Jonas. I am talking about search. You are in the right place if you're here for search. Okay, so here's a brief overview for our session. We're going to talk a little bit about the marketing and insight situation for search. Then I'm going to go into 5 use cases on how search would be beneficial in those use cases. And then we're going to talk about some of the brief product updates for Liferay 7.1, which is probably why you're all here. I will also cover some demos and the tiny piece of the product roadmap that pertains to search. That's what we'll finish with. All right. So, marketing trends. One of the interesting things is it's no longer enterprise search. It's now called insight engines, according to Gartner. And well, why? Right? Why did they rename it from search to insight engines? It's because it's no longer about putting in a keyword and getting your search rankings back. It's actually figuring out, why did that person search for that? And what time they did it, what's their circumstances, and how can we figure out the context of this search and actually maybe even anticipate their query. So having an insight into a customer instead of just returning their results actually gives you a better view of the person doing the search. Okay. One interesting thing about this talk, actually not this talk, the Gartner report is there's no open source engines on it, but you can do it with an open source engine. You can make an implementation of an insight engine with something like Solar or Elasticsearch. All right, brief quote here taken from that insight engine magic quadrant from Gartner. Insight engines provide more natural access to information. They extend beyond enterprise search by providing the capability to engage with content and extract insights without touching the source of that content. So I just read it to you. Basically, we're talking about there's more layers between me as a user or us as users than the data, but those layers that we have there actually provide more insight by processing that data for us as we look through it. Okay, so we're moving from query and hits to questions and answers, right? As I mentioned before, context is important in how we search. Before, when I would go to work, go to the office, I would type into Google, well, what's my commute look like? Like find the directions, that's what we see in this picture on the right. And Google would return to me, well, your drive will be along this path, it takes X number of minutes. But now, I just go to the Google digital assistants or Siri or Alexa and say, hey, what's my commute? And then that will actually return to me that result. As I said before, there's more layers between me and the data, right? I'm no longer accessing the traffic data directly, but I'm accessing the assistant who then crunches all the traffic data and provides me with my answer. Also, there's context behind this. Google knows not to tell me my commute on a Sunday morning, but it knows to tell it to me on Monday through Friday. Right. There's also a lot more changes to how we interact. We're no longer just going, taking our phone, opening it, and then opening the calendar app. We just go directly to our digital assistant and say, hey, make me an appointment at this time and at this location. I'm just wondering, anyone here, if I say, hey, Google, will your phone activate? Okay, that's good. So just a few years ago, when we did search, we went to a search page, we typed in a keyword, and we looked at our results. And one of the things that I found interesting about searching by keyword is that people who are not technically savvy, so I will use the example of my parents, they didn't really know how to use Google that well. They didn't know what keywords to put in when they were searching for something. And so one of the changes in search in general is actually moving to more natural language. It's moving to typing in whole questions, right? How many here have actually typed in an entire question into Google? Like, what is the airspeed velocity of unladen swallow or something like that? Right? We've gone to that. This is what we call natural language processing. And using these interactions where we're asking a question into the search engine is more like a conversation. It's actually a little bit technically harder to do, but it's a much easier user experience for your users. Okay, so Buzzword Alert. We are venturing into the territory where you will hear tons of buzzwords like machine learning, natural language processing, I said that already. And just to throw out other random buzzwords like, blockchain, digital experience, cloud, containerization, big data, whatever you can think of. When we try to address these challenges, it's easy to get into the realm of buzzwords. So you just throw them around or hear them and then jump on it and try to implement something that uses these new fun technologies. But what I'm going to show you today, we can do without buzzwords. All right, I'm going to show you 5 use cases or several use cases where search can be beneficial without succumbing to what I call buzzword-itis. So, without further ado, use case number 1, healthcare. Anyone here in the healthcare space? Yes, some of you guys. Patient records, right? Patient records are a giant part of the data that healthcare providers have to deal with. And sometimes these may be in several different systems. And healthcare providers need to be able to organize that data properly. So healthcare providers need to know a patient's records, like what prescriptions they're on, what specialists they're seeing, all these other stuff, right? So you have to tag and organize that so that when I search for it, I can have it properly sorted and organized, and as a provider, they have a good view of the patient. They also need to be able to search across multiple sources in case, records are stored on one database at this location and in another place in this location, on a third system at a third location. Being able to have a good search experience that bridges across all of those locations and sources means that when I search for a user record, then I'm returning back all the data that I need. And I have confidence that I'm actually getting a proper view of the patient. Right, this is multi-source search. This is what we call federated search. I will talk a little bit more about that later. Also, federated search is important in almost every use case we'll come across. So like recruitment. As a recruiter for a company, someone needs to know where the recruits are coming from, right? Candidates, where are they? So there's always different pools of candidates across multiple services that are out there. And you want to make sure you're pulling from all the right ones. You also need to know about these candidates. And this is where something like the buzzword machine learning or some kind of processing can be beneficial when you take that data and put it through some kind of processing to figure out trends from these candidates, as well as patterns, and use that to see if this person you're considering for hiring is a good fit for the company, or they meet the requirements for the job. All right, so having good search here actually means that recruiters take less time to do their task and can actually do more of it. All right, so moving on to marketing campaigns. So it does mention, the slide does talk about SEO. That is important, but that's not what search has a benefit to marketing people. There's a lot of data on how users interact with the company, right? Through the website, what content they're going on, what pages they're hitting. And being able to search through that information, that metadata concerning your website, is actually really important to marketers and to marketing campaigns. Current content as well as new content needs to be tagged and categorized so that actually the SEOs, the crawlers, can go through that content and present it properly. Right. Good search here actually helps focus your campaign. Financial services, all right, this is a big one. I'm gonna start from the bottom point here. GDPR, everyone's heard of GDPR. Of course, we're not gonna have any presentation on search without talking about GDPR. But so GDPR, companies have to do stuff with our data, right? If we ask them to get rid of it, they have to get rid of it. But for those companies that we authorize to hold on to our data, in this case, financial services would be one of them, they have to, there's security around it. They have to make sure that unauthorized people don't get access to it. And that's actually that's where search comes in. Searching through access logs, intrusion detection, all these things that aggregate information about the system and figure out, well, what's happening here? Is someone trying to break into the system? Is there an exploit that has not been reported that someone is trying to take advantage of? Search logs can help with that. Also, search is good for figuring out patterns from a user's behavior. And in this case, we can talk about fraud prevention. The most consumer-centric use case would be like someone somewhere makes a purchase using my bank account information. Search in terms of fraud protection would realize, hey, this purchase is not congruous with this user's regular activity. And so then it throws up the flags, and the customer service agents can then call me and say, hey, we detected this transaction. Is this actually you? If it's not, then we can go through the whole process on it. All right, and finally, manufacturing. In the manufacturing space, everything needs to be tracked in terms of whether it meets specifications, do parts that are coming out of the production line, do they meet the tolerances necessary, right? So that's information that you all need to track. And search is obviously beneficial there because you can look at all those requirements. In a worst case scenario, if you're faced with a recall, being able to search through all that data is important because you can use that to identify where it came from. What's the cause of the recall? What parts or manufacturing process was defective that caused it, as well as taking that data of who bought that product and who was affected by it. Search will be beneficial there too. You can use that. All right, so that's enough of the use cases. Updates. I think this is why you're all here. You want to hear about the updates to search in Liferay DXP 7.1. Right, hopefully those use cases were beneficial to you, but I think you're all here for this. So you may want to ask your smart assistant, hey, Liferay, what's new in 7.1 in search? Well, one of the big things not relating to search is actually we calling portlets widgets now. So I will say widgets. The slides will say widgets. I may slip up and say portlet, but they're widgets now. And if you hear other talks, you may hear that too. Just want to warn you, all right? So first thing, multiple search widgets. Widgets. You can put multiple search widgets on a page. That's one thing. You can customize all of them. So you can have a bunch of widgets on your page, customize all of it so it returns exactly what your users are looking for. They're also split into smaller features and functions too. So it's no longer one giant search widget that handles all your search. They're now all individual widgets to build your page. So instead of like putting one widget on a page and have to deal with like all the facets that you don't necessarily want, you can now put like 3 or 4 facet widgets on a page and then tweak those to show exactly what you want. All right. This is what it looks like. So I talked about it. This is what it looks like. This is what the search page looks like in 7.1. This is also a template for you guys to go and customize and do fun stuff with. But basically on the left-hand side, the type, user, and last modified are all separate widgets that you can customize, change, as well as add to a page multiple times. Obviously, I only have one search result here, but that's also a widget. The search results are widgets. You can customize that. The search bar at the top is also a separate widget that can be customized. So have fun customizing your search, making it good for your users. If you have any questions about what to do with this, we actually do have a thing called Liferay University. We just launched it this year. We offer video on-demand courses. And one of those courses is search and how to customize search. It's free, so you have no excuse to not watch it. It's a free class. Okay, new functionality. So I talked about breaking up the search thing. New functionality that we added is multiple selection facets. So when you put a facet on a page and you have multiple options, you can sort your search results by picking multiple facets. That's always cool. Bookmarkable URLs. I actually think this is the coolest thing because the URLs are actually short now, shorter. You can actually read it as a human. It's like a URL name, so like liferay.com/web/search/ != and then your query. It's that. That's your search result. And I just told it to you from memory. So it's not like in the past where it's this long thing with like PPID = something, 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 and then multiple times. No, you can actually bookmark this URL and then send it to someone, say, hey, this was my search, or you should look at these search results, or you can bookmark it and then later come back to it. So I think that's really cool because Liferay URLs in the past have not been short, and now they are. And then finally, we've brought back Lucene Syntax to the search queries, so that's always fun. Notice I have not actually talked specifically about a search engine because we support 2 search engines. And we always like having a choice. So your choices are Elasticsearch 6 and Solr 7. Right now, we only support Elasticsearch 6.1. But Support for subsequent versions of 6 for Elasticsearch are on the roadmap. They are coming, so if you're using 6.2, 6.3, or 4, I think was the last time I looked, that support is coming. We will have more support for the features that those versions of Elasticsearch offers. And for Solr, we support 7. It's currently 7.2 is the plugin for 7.2 is currently under review. It was supposed to be released, but it wasn't because we're reviewing it, so it should come out soon. This plan is the same. We're going to support 7.x. Okay, technical updates. So there's more changes under the hood, so to speak, more code level changes. Some of these are actually not specific to search, but they're across all of Liferay. One of those things is splitting the APIs and the implementations, or the impls, in the code. If you actually look in a 7.1 bundle in the OSGI modules, you'll see doubles of everything. One is labeled API, one is labeled impl. And there is a best practices talk later, and I'm going to briefly say a best practice. If you're customizing Liferay, you should customize the API. Any consultants here want to make sure I'm saying that right? Yeah, it's the API. Customize the API, not the impl. And that is true across all of Liferay. Right? In terms of UI, here we go. One of the big changes is we've actually moved search from out underneath server administration. You know, before you had to go to control panel, server administration, click on search, and then there's all your search functionality. So we moved that out actually into control panel to be same level as server administration. So it used to be here, now it's its own thing up above. So it's easier to get to, right? Again, I will plug Liferay University because it's free classes. Some of them are not free, but you should go check it out. All right. Enterprise search. So there's a thing called Liferay Enterprise Search. It is an add-on subscription for those of you guys who are subscribers. This provides access to Elasticsearch's XPack feature suite. All of it. Right now, Liferay has 2 out-of-the-box connectors for Elasticsearch. Security and monitoring, those are the 2 we have right now. There are plans to have connectors for the rest of it. The other ones, the alerting, reporting, graphs, and machine learning. You do have access to all of those. There are just no out-of-the-box connectors, but you can still feed Liferay information into those features. And then, sorry, I'm going out of order, but number 1 here, we have support for XPack and Elasticsearch 6.1. Okay, so that's specific to enterprise search. Customizing search. So I have some examples of how you can customize search in Liferay for those use cases we mentioned earlier. Okay, here we go. All right, so we have so you can customize the widget for Facets. And one of my colleagues put together a really brief 1-minute video. I'm going to show it to you real fast. Hopefully the internet does not betray me. No audio. So you're basically going to go find the search results, and you're going to customize it to show all the indexes that come up, that are attached to it. So I'm going to let the video catch up to my speech. And you're going to look at all the indexes that are in search. You're going to pick the one you want. So he's picking that one. And then you're going to add a new facet widget to the page. And once you're in that new facet widget, you're going to put it in your index, give it a name. Save, and there you go. So we now have the new location facet widget that we didn't have before. All right. I have 5 minutes left, so I am going to move fast. Auto tagging. So all these links that are on my slides, I will show you shortened URLs at the end. You can also grab my business card, email me, and I will send you those links. So you can auto tag, customize search to automatically tag all your content. There is actually a longer talk from DevCon 2017 that goes into it, so that's also in the URLs I will give you. You can also extend search by having synonym detection. So one of the things that really irks me is when people capitalize the R in Liferay or split into 2 words, because that's not how it's supposed to be. So you can set up synonyms in your search to account for that, right? When people split into 2 words, you can actually have it search as if it were 1 word, like it should be. You can also customize the interface to look more Google-like and have it return results that are more people would return results in a way that people are more familiar with, right? With the Google search. And then localization of content as well. You can customize your search so it returns the content in a language that is in the preference of the user. All right, and it wouldn't be right if me as a person as part of the sales organization did not try and sell you enterprise search. It's an add-on subscription, as I said. It does give you access to XPack, but wait, there's more. You get support for enterprise search and Elastic as part of that subscription. So you bundle, call now, and we'll bundle enterprise search support with Liferay support. Sorry, cannot help that. Yeah, so you get all your support consolidated into one organization. You also get lifetime upgrades for versions, which is pretty good because we all know how fast Elastic likes to update their version numbers. Okay, roadmap. Right, we've shown that you can get a lot of stuff out of what's existing in Liferay with what we have right now. So what's coming down the line? What's on the roadmap? So what's coming in the roadmap is federated search, multi-source search for Liferay. So that's coming in future versions of Liferay. It's not out right now, but that is something that we are working on. We're going to have more localization and multilingual support for search, which is great. And we're going to have better log detection, anomaly detection, and be able to analyze those things. There is a product roadmap talk tomorrow morning at 9:30, delivered by Ed Chung. It's actually one of the keynotes, so you should all go to that because I'm sure they're going to talk about that a lot more. Okay, so here's what I mentioned as the links, the URLs that I had. The short video I showed you is the first one. There's a 5-minute video on auto tagging, the DevCon talk, how to implement synonyms, how to do the Google-like layout and content localization. That's all there. If you guys want to grab a picture of it real fast, try not to get me in it, please. If you don't get a picture of this and you still want it, I will be around. I can give you my business card. You can email me, and I will get it to you. All right, sorry. Everyone got a picture? Who wants it? Okay. I don't see any more cameras. Yeah, all right. Final bit of thing. As I said before, Liferay University, we do offer video on-demand courses. Some of them are free, some of them are through a paid passport. If you get the passport, you get everything. The search video that I talked about is a free video. You don't need to have a separate account. If you have a Liferay.com account, you will have access to Liferay University. Go do it. There are no excuses to not do it, okay? Ed Chung's talk tomorrow. Again, reminder, 9:30 at the main room. It's his keynote. More stuff there if you guys want to figure out what's happening. And finally, thank you for attending this talk. Thank you for your attention. I hope it has been beneficial for you. Again, please rate the sessions on the Liferay Events app. If you don't have it, please download it. And thank you very much for coming.